What is the EFC and what does it actually mean and how does it impact your financial aid? Before we dive right in, make sure you subscribe because we break down these financial aid tips to help you plan and pay to go to college. So the expected family contribution, that EFC, you're going to notice it once you finally complete the free application for federal student aid, also known as the FAFSA. All that information you put in there from yourself, and if you're required of your spouse or your parents, depending on your situation, is used to compute your expected family contribution. Back in the day, it seemed like a little bit that the expected family contribution was what your family was expected to pay to send you to school. Nowadays, things have changed a little bit, and that number is not only confusing because there's a lot of information and a lot of things it impacts, but it's also confusing with its name. The fact that it kind of says like that is what you're expected to pay can be a bit confusing. Okay, now that you know what the acronym stands for, expected family contribution is the EFC, get the words a little bit out of your head. Don't think about EFC as expected family contribution, because let's break down what it actually is. The EFC over the years has been used more as an index number. An index number that your school will kind of compare your financial need and your situation across the board to other types of students who also completed the FAFSA. If you have something like an EFC of 0, chances are you're going to be qualifying for a lot of financial aid. So those are the programs like the federal Pell Grant, the direct subsidized loans, and possibly the FSEOG grant, which is a federal grant as well. Those are the federal need-based types of aid. So the lower that number is, the more financial need you probably will be determined to have. The higher that number is, that could actually start to disqualify you a bit from that need-based aid, but that doesn't mean that you're not eligible for any financial aid or any assistance. There are a few non-need-based federal types of financial aid. Like for example, a non-need type of aid or financial assistance is going to be a direct unsubsidized Stafford loan. And that can be awarded to you, if essentially all other types of aid aren't going to help you cover all of your cost of attendance, which is set by your school. So that index number, that EFC, you're going to notice there's actually no dollar signs or anything on there that indicate that it's a dollar amount. Now, lots of people, and you've probably heard counselors and other people kind of associate that with the dollar amount. And that's fine, but keep in mind, it really is more of a type of index number that the school will use to award you financial aid. For the EFC, here's what you want to keep in mind. Your school does not necessarily provide you financial aid to cover all of your financial need. So even though there's an EFC number given to you from the FAFSA form, you could end up owing the school more money than that EFC. Remember, they're only using it as an index to determine how much financial aid they're able to offer you at that particular school. They might be looking at federal programs to give you financial aid, some state, as well as some of their own school programs. But if they're unable to basically cover all of your need, you and your family or whoever's helping you pay for school might actually owe the school more than your expected family contribution. And this actually goes the other way around. You could be looking at a situation, say you got really good grades, maybe you're on scholarship attending a particular school, you actually may not owe the school anywhere near that amount of money that's been calculated on your EFC. What we're going to see a little bit in the future with some upcoming FAFSAs is for the EFC to essentially go away in the way that it's no longer going to be called the EFC or expected family contribution. In the future, we're actually going to see the number switch to being referred to as the Student Aid Index, or SAI. So we will break that down as soon as we know how the government is going to do that and how that will be calculated and any sort of tips you need to know about that. But for now, this year, you'll be seeing an EFC once you complete your FAFSA application. So if you haven't completed the FAFSA yet, or you want to get an idea of what your EFC is, the government site actually on studentaid.gov offers an EFC calculator. So if you've done this in the past or have done previous calculations, you might have seen something known as the FAFSA forecaster. That's actually been retired, and now they have the EFC calculator. You can put in your scenario, kind of get an idea what your EFC is, and then you can get a good idea of what type of federal student aid you would be eligible for. When it comes to state aid and some school aid, you might have to wait a little bit or do additional research to see how much financial aid a state or school is willing to give with someone with your specific EFC number. Now, this is an interesting kind of concept to bring up. So don't be surprised if, say, you make a little bit of a modest income, you don't have a lot of people in your household. This is actually something that's happened to me when I decided to take some graduate courses after I got my undergraduate degree. I essentially completed the FAFSA. I thought I was living a very modest lifestyle. And the EFC was a bit shocking to me that was the number, kind of with the old mindset that I was expected to pay out of pocket. So if you're having an experience similar to that, parents, if after the FAFSA is complete, you get your EFC, you're a little confused with that number, why that number may be so high, you might want to take some time to talk to financial aid. But honestly, if you put stuff in correctly in your FAFSA, or your parents put information in your FAFSA for students out there, and it was all correct and followed the correct procedure, that just might be the number that your EFC actually is. It's not rare to feel like maybe your EFC is a bit high, but at least it lets you know where you are and what that means for your upcoming financial aid. Like I said before, your school will use that number to determine your financial aid eligibility. So they're going to look at the cost of attendance for your program. The cost of attendance is set by your school, and it could be down, to the type of program that you are in. If it's undergraduate, a certificate, or a degree program, the cost of attendance is set, and you can usually find that on the school's website. So essentially, the school will determine your financial need first, which is your cost of attendance minus your EFC. That essentially will equal your determined financial need. With that, your school will then go and see what type of federal student aid you're eligible for. They'll take into consideration as well your state aid and your state eligibility. And then they'll also look at the different types of financial aid they have available for students in your situation with their school financial aid opportunities. That is essentially how the EFC plays into you being awarded or given financial aid each year. Since you're completing your FAFSA every year, your EFC could change every year. If you think there's a mistake with your EFC, if you think your EFC isn't taking into consideration current financial situations, because when we're tying all this together, if you think back, your FAFSA actually included information from your prior tax year. So basically like 2 tax years ago. So there could have been a lot of things that happened where your EFC isn't reflective of your financial situation. Set up some time with financial aid and see what they can do. Now, there are some situations that could require an adjustment to your expected family contribution. If you've had a change to your financial situation at home, you lost your job or a parent lost their job, well, you can actually ask the financial aid office to see if you qualify for a financial aid appeal. With the financial aid appeal, essentially they're going to recalculate, if they approve it, it's case by case, they're going to recalculate what your EFC is. If your EFC changes, if it goes down, there is the possibility that they could offer you other types of need-based aid that maybe you weren't qualified for before. On a quick note, if after you complete the FAFSA and you get your EFC and you see a little star, an asterisk next to the EFC number, that essentially means that you were selected for FAFSA verification. Now that's a whole other concept. We'll break that down for you as well. We also have information on edvisors.com. But FAFSA verification indicates that you might have additional steps that you need to complete before your FAFSA is fully accepted and can be used by your school in order to award you financial aid. Keep an eye on your portal, your email, and be responsive to anything the school sends you, because you want to make sure that you get your FAFSA verification complete, because that can actually hold up your financial aid. And that can cause some anxiety if you didn't see it or you missed it and you're rushing last minute to clear up that hold on your account. My name's Elaine Rubin, and be sure to check out edvisors.com for more information to help break down the world of financial aid. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel because we'll break down more information about financial aid, how to apply, and how the whole process works.